Dawn light stretched shadows across the base as Commander Jake Mitchell walked past the shooting areas. 2 decades with the Navy SEALs taught him to see details others missed. What he spotted that Tuesday would reshape his understanding of expert shooting. Sarah Chen stood at range 7's far end. Her small build looked tiny next to the huge Barrett M82A1 positioned on its stand. Most soldiers fought the .50 caliber weapon's harsh kickback, but she controlled it naturally. Her body position was flawless, her breathing steady, her finger placement exactly right. Mitchell had watched countless soldiers try mastering the Barrett during his years. The gun was famous for its punishing recoil and the expertise needed for distant targets. Most trainees got bruised shoulders and wild shots, but this young woman appeared unique. He observed her making careful scope changes, each movement thoughtful and planned. The target sat 800 meters out, tough even for skilled shooters. Using his field glasses, Mitchell noticed her breathing rhythm, how she settled down, her fingers' steady grip. The gunshot boomed across the range like a storm. Even far away, Mitchell saw the clean hole punched to dead center. Sarah didn't cheer or grin. She just worked to the action, removed the empty shell, and got ready again. "Who's that soldier?" Mitchell asked Sergeant Davis overseeing range testing. "Fresh transfer, sir. Sarah Chen. Got here from Fort Bragg yesterday. She's been here since 5 a.m. running through tests." Mitchell raised his field glasses once more. Sarah fired again. Another clean hit, this one slightly up from the first, still scoring well. Her style was perfect, but something else caught his eye. Something in how she carried herself showed experience beyond typical training. The Barrett wasn't just any gun. It was chosen by the military's best long-distance experts, able to hit marks over a mile out in skilled hands. This soldier handling it so easily grabbed the commander's full attention. "What's her story?" Mitchell asked. "Still watching. Infantry specialist, sir. Normal service history. Nothing odd that I see." But Mitchell's gut said different. He'd worked alongside the world's finest snipers, seen their confidence and accuracy under stress. Sarah showed that same calm skill, that same unhurried way with each shot. Most soldiers rushed shooting, eager to finish tests and leave. She took time, treating every shot like it counted for more than points. Sarah fired once more, and Mitchell watched the round hit with machine-like accuracy. He dropped his field glasses and headed toward range 7. As a SEAL commander, he'd learned spotting rare talent. This young soldier had abilities you couldn't teach in regular training programs. Getting closer to her spot, he grew more impressed with her arrangement. Her mat was lined up perfectly, her gear organized with military neatness. The Barrett sat exactly right for best steadiness and aim. Even her bullets were lined up in tidy rows, each one checked and ready. "Good morning, soldier," Mitchell called, approaching. Sarah looked up from her scope, and Mitchell noticed her eyes right away. They were calm, sharp, showing none of the nervousness most soldiers had around senior officers. Instead, she sized him up fast and professionally before answering. "Good morning, sir." Her voice stayed even, polite, but sure. "Mind watching your next shots?" "Not at all, sir." Mitchell positioned himself to watch both Sarah's method and the far target through a viewing scope. What he saw over 20 minutes proved Sarah Chen was no regular soldier. Every shot landed accurately and powerfully. Her breathing stayed controlled, her trigger pull smooth and steady. But more than accuracy impressed him. It was her total ease with the gun, how she made wind and height changes without checking charts or math. She seemed to read conditions naturally, making fixes that spoke of real field work. After finishing her test round, Mitchell checked her card. Perfect scores across all distances, all situations. But more telling were the groups. Bunches of shots so tight you could cover them with a coin at ranges where most struggled, hitting the target at all. "Nice shooting," Mitchell said, returning her card. "Thank you, sir. Where'd you learn handling the Barrett like that?" For just a second, Sarah paused. Barely noticeable, but Mitchell caught it. Something in her past she didn't want discussing. Some experience teaching her skills way beyond normal training. "Different assignments, sir. You pick up things." Mitchell nodded, but his curiosity sparked fully. From experience, soldiers shooting like Sarah Chen had stories, moments that made them into the precision tools they'd become. Those stories were rarely simple or easy. While Sarah cleaned her weapon with the same careful attention she gave shooting, Mitchell decided to dig deeper into her history. Something told him Sarah Chen's background was more complex than her humble manners suggested, and he planned learning exactly what shaped this amazing young soldier into the expert shooter he'd witnessed. That afternoon, Mitchell sat in his office reviewing Sarah Chen's file. What he found seemed thin for someone with her clear skills. Basic infantry school at Fort Benning, one Afghanistan tour for 12 months, then transfer to Fort Bragg for advanced weapons work. On paper, typical career growth. But Mitchell knew reading between lines in military files. The gaps revealed as much as the listed assignments. Sarah's file showed 6 months during Afghanistan, where her location simply said classified work. That raised questions alone. But what really caught him were the awards buried in her record. Hidden among routine reports and training papers was a Bronze Star with V for bravery, given for actions during fighting in Helmand Province. The description was heavily blocked out, but what remained suggested Sarah gave crucial cover during a dangerous rescue, hitting enemy fighters at extreme range under heavy pressure. Mitchell grabbed his secure phone and dialed a number unused for months. Colonel Patricia Hayes answered quickly. She'd been his contact with Joint Special Operations during his last tour. If anyone could explain Sarah Chen's classified work, Pat could. Jake, this is unexpected. What do you need? I need background on a soldier. Sarah Chen transferred to my unit yesterday. Her file shows classified Afghanistan work. That makes me curious. Long silence followed. When Hayes spoke again, her voice changed, more careful and measured. What exactly do you want knowing? She can shoot, really Barrett.50 like she was born holding it. But her official record doesn't explain that skill level. Another pause. Mitchell could almost hear Hayes weighing what she could share. Jake, Sarah Chen was part of a classified program. I can't share details on the phone, but what I can say is she worked with a special operations unit for counter-sniper work. Her job was finding and stopping enemy shooters targeting our patrols. Mitchell felt coldness run through him. Counter-sniper work ranked among the most dangerous and demanding roles in the military. It needed not just amazing shooting skills, but ability to track and outthink enemy snipers who were themselves trained killers. How many confirmed kills? Jake, you know I can't discuss mission details. But let me ask this. Why the sudden interest in one soldier's past? Mitchell explained what he saw on the range that morning. Sarah's calm confidence and mechanical accuracy with the bear. As he described her shooting, he realized he was describing someone with far more experience than any regular infantry soldier should have. I see, Hayes said when he finished. Jake, take my advice. Don't dig too deep into Sarah's background, unless you have specific operational needs. Some soldiers carry heavier loads than others, and Sarah Chen earned the right to a quiet post if that's what she wants. But Mitchell's curiosity now burned fully aroused. After ending the call with Hayes, he decided approaching differently. Instead of investigating Sarah's past, he'd observe her present abilities and see what showed naturally. Next morning, Mitchell arranged advanced sniper exercises on the long-range course. He wanted seeing how Sarah performed under tougher conditions, with longer distances, and changing weather testing. Even experienced shooters. The advanced course had targets from 800 to 1200 meters, with wind markers placed along to help shooters judge air conditions. It was built to challenge even the most skilled unit shooters, and Mitchell wondered how Sarah would handle increased difficulty. She arrived 30 minutes early, like the day before. Mitchell watched from the tower as she carefully prepared her gear, checking and rechecking every rifle part. Her setup routine was thorough and professional, the detailed work that spoke of hard-won experience where one mistake could prove deadly. When exercises started, Sarah's work was simply outstanding. She hit maximum range targets with steadiness that left even instructors amazed. But what really caught Mitchell's eye was her ability reading conditions, without relying heavily on the wind flags and weather tools most shooters needed. Between shooting rounds, Mitchell approached her spot again. This time he chose asking more direct questions about her methods and training. Your wind reading is excellent, he said, settling near her mat. That's not something picked up in basic infantry training. Sarah glanced up from her adjustments. Wind patterns stay pretty steady once you learn reading signs. Sir, what signs exactly? For 10 minutes, Sarah explained her method reading air conditions. She pointed out subtle grass movements, dust patterns, even insect behavior most shooters never noticed. Her knowledge was complete and practical, the understanding coming from extensive fieldwork under real conditions. Someone taught you well, Mitchell noted. Yes, sir, I had excellent instructors. Mitchell sensed much more to that story, but Sarah's tone suggested she wasn't ready explaining. He tried another way. I'm building a special training program for our best shooters. Advanced methods, tough scenario. Interested? Sarah's eyes sharpened with interest. What kind of scenarios, sir? City settings, extreme range work, moving targets. The challenges needing real expertise. For the first time since meeting her, Sarah's professional calm cracked slightly. Mitchell caught a glimpse of something deeper. A hunger for the challenging work that clearly defined her previous experience. "I'd be honored participating, sir." Walking back to the tower, Mitchell realized Sarah Chen represented exactly the rare soldier he'd hoped finding for his coming mission. But he also understood her skills came with a history she wasn't ready sharing. Experiences forging her into the accurate and deadly shooter he'd witnessed over 2 days. Whatever secret Sarah Chen carried from her classified Afghanistan work, Mitchell began understanding it had shaped her into one of the most capable long-range specialists he'd ever met. And soon he'd discover just how outstanding her abilities really were. The advanced program began Monday with 12 of the unit's best shooters gathered at the extended range area. Mitchell had built a series of increasingly tough exercises, pushing even experienced snipers to their limit. The final test would be shots at targets beyond 2,000 meters. Distances where only the most skilled operators could expect regular hits. Sarah arrived with the same quiet professionalism Mitchell now expected. She set up her Barrett.50 with careful precision while other participants prepared their weapons. Several men were veteran snipers with multiple tours and impressive records. But none showed Sarah's calm confidence approaching the extreme range challenge. First exercise involved hitting multiple targets at varying distances under time pressure. Each shooter had to hit 5 targets placed between 800 and 1,400 meters within 10 minutes. Wind conditions were moderate but shifting, needing constant changes and quick choices. Mitchell watched through high-powered viewing scopes as each shooter took their turn. The veterans performed well, hitting most targets within acceptable times. But when Sarah's turn came, something amazing happened. She hit all 5 targets in under 6 minutes, placing every shot within scoring rings with machine-like accuracy. Time 6 minutes 12 seconds, called the instructor. All targets center hits. Several other shooters exchanged looks. Sarah's work wasn't just good, it was outstanding by any measure. But what impressed Mitchell most was her complete lack of celebration or recognition of the achievement. She simply cleared her weapon and prepared for next exercise, as if hitting all targets at extreme range under time pressure was normal. Second exercise tested shooting skills under physical stress. Each shooter had to complete a 2-mile run in full gear, then immediately hit targets at 1,000 meters, while their heart pounded and breathing was hard. It was a scenario copying the physical demands often met in real situations. Most shooters struggled with this challenge. Racing hearts and hard breathing made precise shooting much tougher, and several experienced shooters missed targets they'd normally hit easily. But Sarah seemed almost unaffected by the physical stress. Her shooting position stayed stable, her breathing controlled despite just finishing the run. She fired 5 shots in steady succession, each finding its mark with the same accuracy she'd shown when fresh and rested. Mitchell realized he was seeing skills going far beyond standard training. This performance under stress suggested extensive real-world experience in high-pressure situations. During lunch break, Sergeant Major Thompson, one of the unit's most experienced snipers, approached Mitchell with clear concern. "Sir, I've been shooting 15 years, and I've never seen anything like what that young woman just did. Where exactly did she come from?" Mitchell chose words carefully. "Her background includes some specialized training." "Why asking? Because what she's doing out there isn't normal, sir. How she reads wind, how she handles stress, her equipment knowledge. It's all at a level taking years of field experience to develop. But according to guys who knew her at Bragg, she's been keeping low profile. Never talked about her tour experiences." That afternoon brought the toughest exercise yet. Each shooter would attempt hitting targets at 1,800 meters, a distance pushing the Barrett.50 near its range limit. At such distances, factors like air pressure, humidity, and temperature all played critical roles in bullet path. Even slight miscalculations could result in complete miss. Mitchell had placed only 3 targets at maximum range, expecting even his best shooters might struggle achieving hits at such distances. Conditions were challenging, with variable winds and afternoon heat creating air disturbances, affecting bullet flight. The first several shooters fired their given rounds, with mixed results. Some achieved near misses while others missed targets completely. The distances meant even experienced shooters were working at the edge of their ability. When Sarah's turn arrived, she spent considerable time studying conditions downrange. She used a handheld weather meter checking air pressure and humidity, then made exact adjustments to her scope. Mitchell watched her calculations, noting she seemed accounting for factors other shooters had overlooked. Her first shot struck the leftmost target with power, the sharp crack of impact clearly heard even at extreme range. The second shot found the center target placed slightly higher, still well within scoring range. For her third shot, she made additional scope changes before hitting the rightmost target. The bullet's flight time at such distance was noticeable, nearly 3 seconds from flash to impact. When the distant strike confirmed, several watching shooters actually clapped. Sarah had achieved 3 hits at a distance where most experienced shooters would be satisfied with a single successful hit. Outstanding shooting, Mitchell said as Sarah cleared her weapon. Thank you, sir. Conditions were actually quite good for long-range work, but Mitchell had watched the wind flags and air readings throughout the exercise. Conditions had been anything but good, with shifting winds and heat disturbances, challenging even the most skilled shooter. Sarah's assessment suggested experience with extreme range shooting, going far beyond what her official record showed. As the day's exercises ended, Mitchell realized he'd witnessed something truly rare. Sarah Chen possessed skills ranking her among the finest long-range shooters he'd ever met, including many special operations snipers with extensive combat experience. Her methods were refined, her equipment knowledge was complete, and her performance under pressure was simply outstanding. But what really intrigued Mitchell was Sarah's clear familiarity with the extreme ranges and tough conditions. She approached each exercise with the confidence of someone who'd faced similar challenges before under circumstances likely far more dangerous than any training scenario. That evening, Mitchell made a choice. He would design one final test, an exercise that would either confirm his growing suspicions about Sarah's background or put them to rest completely. If Sarah Chen truly possessed the expertise level he suspected, then she deserved knowing about the upcoming mission, needing exactly the skills she'd shown. As he planned the ultimate challenge for the next day, Mitchell couldn't shake the feeling he was about to discover something remarkable about the quiet soldier who handled the Barrett.50 caliber rifle with such devastating accuracy. Whatever secrets lay in Sarah Chen's classified past, they had clearly forged her into one of the most capable shooters he'd ever encountered. Mitchell arrived at the range before sunrise, personally setting up what would be the toughest shot any of his shooters had ever attempted. At 2,400 meters downrange, nearly a mile and a half away, he placed a single target. This wasn't just about distance, it was about pushing the Barrett.50 system to its absolute limits under real-world conditions. The morning air was crisp with complex wind patterns flowing across the valley between the shooting spot and the distant target. Mitchell had chosen this location specifically because it required shooters accounting for multiple height changes, temperature layers, and shifting air conditions, making long-range shooting incredibly difficult. Sarah arrived at her usual time, 30 minutes before the scheduled exercise. Mitchell watched as she began her setup routine, but noticed something different in her approach. She spent nearly 20 minutes studying the terrain through field glasses, making notes about wind patterns, air conditions, and the various factors affecting bullet path over such extreme distance. Ambitious range for today, she commented when Mitchell approached her spot. Too ambitious, he asked, testing her reaction. Sarah studied the distant target through her rifle scope, making small adjustments to focus and distance settings. It's manageable. The terrain creates some interesting challenges, but the conditions are actually quite good for this kind of shot. Mitchell felt his pulse quicken. Most experienced shooters would have expressed serious doubts about attempting a shot at such distance. Sarah's calm judgment suggested she'd attempted similar shots before and successfully. When the exercise began, the other shooters took their turns first. Several achieved near misses, their bullets striking close enough to the target to kick up visible dust clouds, but none managed actual hits at the extreme distance. The math needed for such shots was incredibly complex, involving dozens of variables that had to be exactly accounted for. Sarah's turn came last. She had been quietly watching each previous attempt, and Mitchell noticed she was making notes about wind patterns and air changes as conditions evolved throughout the morning. Her preparation was careful and professional, the kind of detailed analysis speaking of extensive experience with extreme range shooting. She settled into her shooting spot with the same calm confidence Mitchell had observed before. But at this distance, even her outstanding skills would be tested to their limits. The margin for error at 2,400 meters was virtually zero, needing absolute accuracy in every aspect of the shot. Sarah spent several minutes making final calculations and scope change. Mitchell watched through viewing scopes as she checked and rechecked her settings, ensuring every detail was perfect before attempting the shot. The other shooters had gathered to watch, understanding they were seeing an attempt at something truly outstanding. When Sarah finally fired, the massive boom of the Barrett.50 echoed across the valley. The bullet's flight time at such distance was remarkable, nearly 4 seconds from flash to impact. For those endless seconds, everyone on the range waited to see if the shot would connect. The distant crack of impact was barely heard, but unmistakable. Through the viewing scopes, Mitchell could see the target had been struck cleanly, the bullet hole clearly visible even at extreme range. Several watching shooters let out low whistles of appreciation. What Sarah had just accomplished was outstanding by any measure, confirmed Hit. Center Mass called the instructor, his voice carrying amazement. But Mitchell was watching Sarah's reaction, and what he saw told him everything he needed knowing. There was no surprise in her expression, no celebration or recognition of having achieved something remarkable. She simply worked the action to remove the spent shell and began securing her weapon as if hitting targets at nearly impossible distances was routine. "How many times have you made shots at that distance?" Mitchell asked quietly. For the first time since meeting her, Sarah hesitated before answering. Mitchell could see her weighing how much to reveal, considering what her response might lead to. "A few times, sir, under field conditions." "What kind of field conditions require shots at 2,400 meters? Sarah finished securing her rifle before responding. When she looked up at Mitchell, he saw something different in her eyes. A depth of experience speaking of situations most soldiers never encountered. "Counter-sniper work, sir. Sometimes you have to hit threats at whatever distance you can see them." Mitchell felt pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. Counter-sniper work at extreme distances would explain Sarah's outstanding skills, her calm under pressure, and her familiarity with the Barrett system, but it would also suggest experiences far more intense and dangerous than most soldiers ever faced. "Sarah, I need asking you a direct question, and I need an honest answer. What's your longest confirmed kill?" The question hung in the air between them. Mitchell could see Sarah considering her response. Understanding her answer would reveal information she'd been carefully guarding. Around them, the other shooters were discussing the day's shooting, but Mitchell and Sarah existed in a bubble of tense silence. "Sir, some field details are classified," Sarah replied carefully. "I understand classification rules, but I'm asking as your commanding officer for reasons relating to an upcoming mission. What's your longest confirmed kill?" Sarah met his gaze directly and Mitchell saw the moment she decided, trusting him with the truth. 32.47 meters, sir. Helmand Province, Afghanistan. Taliban sniper who'd been targeting medical rescue helicopters. Mitchell felt his breath catch. Over 2 miles. It was a distance pushing the boundaries of what was considered possible with the Barrett system, even under perfect conditions. Such a shot would have needed not just outstanding shooting skills, but deep understanding of ballistics, air science, and the patience waiting for exactly the right moment. Weather conditions, variable winds, high temperature, tough terrain. The target was positioned on a ridge with significant height differences. I had one opportunity before his position would have been compromised by advancing friendly forces. "How long did you observe before taking the shot?" 6 hours, sir. I needed understanding the wind patterns and heat effects in that specific location. The shot window was less than 30 seconds. Mitchell realized he was standing next to one of the most skilled shooters in the world. A shot at 32.47 meters, under combat conditions, represented an achievement, placing Sarah among the elite few snipers capable of such accuracy at extreme distances. It was the kind of shot that military snipers discussed in whispered tone, the stuff of legend rather than routine field experience. Why hasn't this been recognized officially? The operation was classified, sir. Official records show the kill, but not the specific distance or circumstances. Command felt it was better keeping those details quiet. As Mitchell processed this information, he understood why Hayes had warned him about digging too deeply into Sarah's background. A soldier capable of kills at over 2 miles had clearly been involved in operations far beyond standard military activities. Such skills were reserved for the most critical and dangerous missions. But Mitchell also realized he'd found exactly the person he needed for the upcoming operation weighing on his mind. A mission needing the kind of extreme range accuracy Sarah had just shown was not just possible, but routine for her. Sarah, we need talking privately about a special assignment. Report to my office at 1400 hours. Yes, sir. As the training exercise ended and the shooters began cleaning their equipment, Mitchell walked back toward headquarters with his mind racing. He had set out to test his suspicions about Sarah Chen's abilities and had discovered something far more outstanding than he'd imagined. Now he faced the challenge of convincing her to take on one more mission that would push even her remarkable skills to their absolute limits. At exactly 1400 hours, Sarah knocked on Mitchell's office door. He had spent the previous 2 hours reviewing classified mission briefing and considering how much he could reveal to someone who wasn't technically part of his special operations unit. But after seeing her outstanding abilities, he knew Sarah Chen was exactly the specialist his upcoming mission required. Come in and close the door, Mitchell said, as Sarah entered. He gestured to a chair across from his desk, noting she moved with the same quiet confidence he'd observed on the range. What I'm about to discussing with you is classified at the highest levels. Are you prepared for that level of briefing? Yes, sir. Mitchell opened a secure file folder and removed several photographs and tactical maps. The images showed a compound in a remote mountainous region with detailed ground information and intelligence reports of the target area. 3 weeks from now, my team will be conducting a high-priority rescue operation in hostile territory. We'll be retrieving a captured CIA operative who's been held for 6 months by a terrorist organization. Intelligence indicates he's being held in this compound. Sarah studied the photographs carefully, her trained eye immediately identifying the tactical challenges the location presented. The compound was situated on raised terrain with excellent sightlines in all directions, making normal assault approaches extremely dangerous. The problem, Mitchell continued, is that normal assault tactics won't work. The compound's position gives defenders significant advantages, and the hostage's location within the structure means we can't use heavy weapons or air support without risking his life. What kind of cover support are you planning? Sarah asked, showing her immediate understanding of the tactical situation. That's where you come in. We need precision kills of key defensive positions to allow the assault team reaching the compound, but the ranges involved are extreme, and the shots will need taking under combat conditions with minimal preparation time. Mitchell pulled out a detailed ground map showing the surrounding terrain. Red marks indicated best shooting positions his scout team had identified, while blue marks showed the compound's defensive positions needing neutralization. The closest workable shooting position is here. Mitchell pointed to a ridge marked on the map. Range to target is approximately 2,800 meters. Terrain is challenging with significant height changes and unpredictable wind patterns caused by the mountain environment. Sarah studied the map intently, tracing sightlines and calculating angles with the practiced eye of an expert shooter. Mitchell watched her analyze the tactical problem, noting how quickly she grasped the challenges involved. Weather conditions in the area are variable. Morning mist is common. Temperatures can change rapidly due to height, and wind patterns are influenced by the mountain terrain. You'd be working with limited weather data and would need making real-time adjustments based on field observations. How many targets would need hitting? Intelligence suggests 3 to 5 defensive positions, depending on how many guards are actively manning the perimeter. When we arrive, you'd need prioritizing targets based on the assault team's approach route and hitting them in sequence to create a clear path to the compound. Sarah was quiet for several minutes, studying the maps and photographs with professional intensity. Mitchell could see her mind working through the tactical challenges, considering the various factors affecting such a complex operation. Sir, this type of operation would normally require a dedicated sniper team with extensive planning and scout time. Are you asking me to provide cover as a single operator? That's exactly what I'm asking. My team doesn't include a shooter with your abilities, and we can't wait for official channels assigning a sniper team. This is a time-sensitive operation, and the CIA operative's life depends on our success. What's my official status for this mission? Am I being temporarily assigned to your unit? Mitchell had expected this question and had already cleared the necessary paperwork through classified channels. You'll be attached to my team under Special Operations Authority. Your participation in this mission will be compartmentalized and won't appear in your standard service record. Sarah set down the photographs and maps, meeting Mitchell's gaze directly. Sarah, I need being completely honest with you. The shooting you saw today, the abilities I showed, they come with a cost. The kind of precision shooting needed for this mission, especially under combat stress, it changes you. I left Afghanistan, hoping I'd never have to take another life at extreme range. Mitchell had expected this conversation. He'd worked with enough special operations personnel, understanding the mental burden coming with taking lives, especially under the intense pressure of combat operations. I understand your doubts, Sarah, but this mission involves saving a life, not just taking one. Our intelligence indicates the hostage is in poor condition and may not survive much longer in captivity. Without your abilities, this rescue operation has a very low probability of success. What happens if I decline participate? Then I'll have to attempt the mission with my existing team and accept the significantly higher risk to both the hostage and my operators. I won't lie to you, your participation dramatically improves our chances, bringing everyone home alive. Sarah was quiet for a long time, staring at the mission photographs while weighing her choice. Mitchell could see the internal struggle playing out across her features as she considered returning to the kind of high-stakes shooting that had defined her classified. If I agree to this, what guarantees do I have about future assignments? I don't want becoming the go-to person for extreme-range kill missions. This is a one-time request. After the mission, you'll return to your current assignment with no expectation of future special operations involvement. Unless you specifically request it, I'll need access to the exact rifle system and ammunition I'll be using. With time to zero the weapon and practice at the ranges we'll be working with, already arranged. We have a Barrett.50 system, identical to what you'll use in the field, and I can provide access to a 3,000-meter range for practice sessions. Sarah picked up one of the mission photographs again, studying the compound's layout with renewed intensity. Mitchell could see her professional instincts engaging as she began thinking through the tactical challenges from an operational view. How much time do I have preparing? 2 weeks for individual preparation, then 1 week of integration training with the assault team. I'll need detailed intelligence on the compound's daily routine, guard patterns, and any information about the specific weapon systems the defenders are using. Our intelligence officer will brief you on everything we know. Sarah was quiet for another long moment before setting down the photograph and looking directly at Mitchell. Sarah, I'll participate in this mission on one condition. If the tactical situation develops in a way requiring me taking shots I'm not completely confident about, I need the authority aborting rather than risk hitting the wrong target. Agreed. Your judgment on shot selection will be final. Then I'm in, sir. Mitchell felt a wave of relief wash over him. With Sarah Chen providing cover, his team's chances of successfully completing the rescue had just improved dramatically. But he also understood he was asking her returning to the kind of high-pressure shooting that had forged her into one of the world's most capable shooters. Report to the secure briefing room tomorrow at 800. We'll begin detailed mission planning and intelligence review. As Sarah left his office, Mitchell realized he'd just convinced one of the military's most skilled shooters undertaking a mission that would test even her outstanding ability. The success of the operation and the lives of his team members now depended on skills that Sarah Chen had hoped never using again. The next 2 weeks passed in intensive preparation as Sarah immersed herself back into the world of extreme precision shooting. Mitchell had arranged access to a remote training facility where she could practice at the distances she'd faced during the actual mission. Every morning before dawn, Sarah would arrive at the range to work through the complex calculations and environmental factors determining success or failure. The Barrett-50 system, assigned for the mission, was nearly identical to her personal weapon, but Sarah spent hours fine-tuning every component. She hand-selected each round of ammunition, checking weights and measurements, ensuring maximum consistency. At distances approaching 3,000 meters, even tiny variations in ammunition could mean the difference between a successful kill and a complete miss. Mitchell often observed her training sessions, watching as Sarah worked through increasingly challenging scenarios. She practiced shooting in various weather conditions at different times of day and from multiple positions, copying the terrain features she'd encounter during the actual operation. Her dedication was absolute, but Mitchell could see the mental toll the preparation was taking. "How are you holding up?" he asked, during a break in one particularly intense training session. Sarah was cleaning her rifle with careful precision, a routine that had become almost meditative for her during the preparation period. The skills are coming back: muscle memory, breathing control, environmental reading. It's like riding a bicycle. That's not what I was asking about. Sarah paused in her cleaning routine, looking up at Mitchell with eyes carrying the weight of her previous experience. I'd forgotten how much mental pressure comes with this kind of shooting. In regular combat, you hit targets of opportunity at moderate ranges, but precision shooting at extreme distances, especially when friendly lives depend on your accuracy, it's a completely different level of responsibility. Are you having second thoughts about the mission? No, sir. I committed to this operation and I'll see it through, but I won't pretend it's easy stepping back into this role. During the second week of preparation, Mitchell introduced Sarah to the assault team she'd be supporting. The four-man unit consisted of seasoned special operations veterans, each with multiple combat tours and extensive experience in high-risk operations. Their leader, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez, had worked with snipers before and understood the critical role Sarah would play in the mission's success. Ma'am, I've reviewed your planned shooting positions and the target priorities we discussed, Rodriguez said during their first joint planning session. My team is comfortable with the approach routes you've cleared for us, but I want making sure we understand your hitting sequence. Sarah spread out the detailed mission maps, pointing to the various defensive positions that intelligence had identified around the compound. Primary targets are the two guard towers providing cover of your approach route. I'll hit those first, then shift to any roving sentries that might interfere with your advance to the compound. What's your planned time for each target? Approximately 30 to 45 seconds between shots, depending on how quickly I can find targets after recoil. At these distances, I need time confirming each hit before moving to the next target. Rodriguez nodded, understanding the tactical meaning. We'll time our advance, giving you adequate windows. What happens if you encounter targets that weren't in the intelligence briefing? I have authority hitting any threat that interferes with your approach, but I'll prioritize based on immediate danger to your team. If I see something you can't, I'll communicate through the tactical radio network. The team spent hours rehearsing communication procedures and coordination methods. Sarah would be positioned nearly 2 miles from the assault team, needing precise radio discipline and clear understanding of tactical call signs and target names. Any confusion in communications could result in friendly fire incidents or missed opportunities, eliminating critical threats. As the mission date approached, Mitchell noticed changes in Sarah's manner. The quiet confidence he'd observed during training had evolved into something harder and more focused. She was transforming back into the precision instrument that had achieved the legendary 32-47-meter kill in Afghanistan. But Mitchell could see the personal cost of that transformation. 3 days before deployment, Sarah made an unusual request. Sir, I'd like making one final practice session at maximum range, but with fake stress conditions. What kind of stress simulation? Physical exertion before shooting, time pressure, multiple target hitting under artificial deadline pressure. I want making sure I can perform under the kind of stress I'll face during the actual operation. Mitchell arranged for a complex training scenario, pushing Sarah to her limit. After completing a grueling fitness course, she had to hit 5 targets at distances ranging from 2,400 to 2,900 meters within a strict time limit. The exercise was designed copying the physical and mental pressure she'd faced during the actual mission. Sarah's performance was flawless. Despite racing heart and tiredness from the physical exertion, she hit all 5 targets successfully within the time limit. But Mitchell noticed something troubling in her eyes after the exercise was complete. The transformation into a precision killing instrument was nearly complete, and he wondered if Sarah would be able finding her way back to the person she'd been before. How do you feel about mission readiness? Mitchell asked, as they reviewed the exercise results. Ready, sir. Weapon system is zeroed perfectly, ammunition is consistent, and I've practiced under every condition I can expect. Weather briefings suggest favorable shooting conditions for the operation window, and personally, how are you feeling about what we're asking you doing? Sarah was quiet for a long moment, staring at the targets downrange that bore the evidence of her precision shooting. Sir, I've accepted that this is who I am. Some soldiers are good at close quarters combat. Others excel at leadership or technical skill. I'm exceptionally good at killing people at distances most soldiers can't even see. This mission needs that specific skill set. That doesn't answer my question about how you're feeling. I feel like I'm about to save lives by taking lives. It's a trade-off I can live with, but it's not something I'll ever be comfortable with. The final briefing took place 24 hours before deployment. Intelligence updates confirmed the compound layout and defensive position, while weather forecasts predicted acceptable shooting conditions during the planned operation window. Sarah reviewed every detail one final time, committing target priorities and hitting sequences to memory. "Any final questions or concerns?" Mitchell asked as the briefing ended. "No, sir, I'm ready." As the team prepared for deployment, Mitchell realized he was sending one of the most skilled shooters in the world into a situation testing every aspect of her outstanding abilities. The success of the mission and the lives of both the hostage and the assault team now depended on Sarah Chen's ability achieving precision shooting under combat conditions at distances, pushing the boundaries of what was humanly possible. But he had also seen the personal transformation that preparing for this mission had required, and he wondered what the cost of success would ultimately be for the remarkable soldier who had volunteered shouldering this enormous responsibility. The helicopter insertion took place under cover of darkness, with Sarah and the assault team deploying into mountainous terrain 12 kilometers from the target compound. The night was clear and cold with minimal wind conditions favoring long-range. When dawn arrived, Sarah carried her Barrett M82A1 system along with enough ammunition for extended engagement, while the assault team moved with their standard combat loadout optimized for close-quarters fighting. The team moved through difficult terrain for 3 hours, following predetermined routes avoiding known enemy patrol areas, while positioning both Sarah and the assault team for the coordinated attack. Sarah's shooting spot was located on a rocky outcropping, providing clear sightlines to the compound, while offering adequate concealment from enemy observation. As the first hints of dawn appeared on the horizon, Sarah began her final preparation. She established her shooting position with the same careful precision she'd practiced during training, ensuring her rifle was perfectly stable and her equipment was arranged for rapid target hitting. The compound lay 2847 meters away across a valley, clearly visible through her high-powered scope. Overwatch in position, Sarah reported through her tactical radio, "I have clear observation of the target compound and all identified defensive positions." "Copy Overwatch," responded Staff Sergeant Rodriguez. "Assault team moving to final positions. Stand by for target designation." Through her scope, Sarah could see the compound coming to life as the morning shift change began. Guards moved between defensive positions, and she counted 5 active sentries manning the perimeter. Intelligence had been accurate about the defensive layout, but Sarah noted additional details affecting her hitting sequence. "Command, I have eyes on 5 active sentries, 2 in elevated positions covering the primary approach route, 3 conducting roving patrols around the compound perimeter." "Roger, Overwatch. Assault team is ready for initial engagement. You are cleared, hitting primary targets on your discretion." Sarah settled into her shooting position, controlling her breathing as she acquired her first target through the rifle scope. The guard tower on the eastern side of the compound held a sentry armed with an automatic weapon positioned to provide covering fire across the valley where the assault team would have to advance. The distance was 2847 meters according to her laser rangefinder, with light variable winds flowing down the valley from the west. Sarah made tiny adjustments to her scope settings, accounting for air pressure, temperature, and the complex ballistic calculations needed for such an extreme shot. She controlled her breathing, waiting for the natural pause that would provide the steadiest platform for the shot. Through the scope, the target appeared routine. Unaware that death was approaching from nearly 2 miles away at over 2,800 feet per second, Sarah squeezed the trigger with smooth, steady pressure. The Barrett's massive boom echoed across the mountainside as the rifle kicked against her shoulder. Through the scope, Sarah tracked the bullet's flight path until the distant figure in the guard tower suddenly collapsed. "Target 1 eliminated," Sarah reported, already shifting to acquire her second target. Moving to target 2, the second guard tower held another sentry, this one positioned to cover the compound's main entrance where the assault team would need breaching the perimeter. Sarah made rapid adjustments for the slightly different range and wind conditions, her movement smooth and practiced from weeks of intensive preparation. The second shot was equally accurate, and Sarah watched through her scope as the target dropped immediately upon impact. 2 critical defensive positions had been neutralized within 90 seconds, creating a clear approach corridor for the assault team. Targets 1 and 2 eliminated. Assault team, you have a clear approach to the compound. Roger, Overwatch. Beginning our advance. But as the assault team moved from concealment, Sarah observed additional guards responding to the sound of her rifle fire. 3 roving sentries were moving to reinforce the defensive positions, armed with automatic weapons and taking cover behind compound structure. "Command, I have 3 additional targets attempting establishing defensive positions, hitting nearest threat to assault team approach." The third target was partially concealed behind a concrete wall, presenting a much more challenging shot. Sarah had to wait for the guard exposing himself sufficiently for a clean hit while accounting for the bullet's path over the intervening terrain. When the opportunity presented itself, Sarah fired her third shot. The range was 2,901 meters, her longest shot of the mission, but the bullet found its mark with the same accuracy as her previous hits. The threat to the assault team's advance was eliminated before the guard could establish effective covering fire. Target 3 eliminate assault team. Continue your advance. Copy Overwatch. We're at the compound perimeter. Beginning breach operations, Sarah maintained cover as the assault team breached the compound's defenses and moved toward the building where intelligence indicated the hostage was being held. Through her scope, she tracked their progress while scanning for any additional threats that might emerge interfering with the rescue. The assault team moved with professional efficiency, clearing defensive positions and advancing toward the main building. Sarah could hear the distinctive sounds of close-quarters combat through her radio as the team engaged guards inside the compound, but her role now was providing security against external threats. Overwatch, we have located the hostage and are beginning rescue procedure. Maintain surveillance for any reinforcements approaching the compound. Roger, command. I have clear observation of all approach routes. No movement detected at this time. 23 minutes after the first shot, Sarah heard the words she'd been waiting for through her tactical radio. Command, we have the package and are moving to extraction point. Hostage is alive and mobile. Outstanding work, assault team. Overwatch, provide covering fire if any threats emerge during rescue. Sarah maintained her position as the assault team moved away from the compound with the rescued CIA operative. Through her scope, she could see guards beginning to respond from other areas of the complex, but they were too late, interfering with the successful rescue. The helicopter rescue went smoothly, with Sarah and the assault team successfully departing the area with the rescued hostage. As the aircraft gained altitude and flew toward friendly territory, Sarah finally allowed herself decompressing from the intense concentration that had defined the past several hours. Outstanding shooting, Overwatch, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez said through the aircraft's intercom system. Your precision fire made the difference between success and failure for this mission. Sarah nodded her acknowledgement, but found herself staring out the helicopter window at the mountainous terrain below. She had successfully completed one of the most challenging shooting assignments of her career, neutralizing 3 targets at distances approaching 3,000 meters under combat conditions. The mission had been a complete success, with the hostage rescued and all team members returning safe. But Sarah also understood she had been forever changed by the experience. The precision shooting skills making her one of the world's most capable shooters came with a mental burden that would follow her for the rest of her life. Each successful kill at extreme range added to a legacy she both took pride in and struggled accepting. When Mitchell debriefed her after the mission, Sarah made a simple request. Sir, I'd like returning to standard infantry duty. I've done my part for special operations, and I think it's time for someone else carrying this particular burden. Mitchell understood completely. Sarah Chen had proven herself to be one of the finest shooters he'd ever encountered, capable of precision shooting that bordered on the impossible. But he also recognized that such abilities came with a personal cost that not every soldier could bear indefinitely. Request approved. Sarah, you've earned the right, choosing your own path from here. As Sarah returned to routine military duties, her legend grew quietly among special operations units. Stories circulated about the soldier who could achieve kills at distances others considered impossible. The shooter who had made the difference in critical missions when normal tactics weren't sufficient. But Sarah herself preferred anonymity, content serving as a standard infantry soldier, while keeping her outstanding abilities private. She had proven what she could accomplish when her country needed her most, and that knowledge was sufficient reward for the burdens she had chosen carrying. The Barrett.50 caliber rifle that had made her famous among military shooters was returned to the armory. But Sarah's reputation as one of the world's most skilled precision shooters would endure long after her service ended. She had demonstrated that with the right combination of skill, training, and dedication, even the most challenging missions could be accomplished successfully. And somewhere in his office, Mitchell kept a classified file documenting one of the most remarkable shooting achievements in military history. Proof that when outstanding talent met critical necessity, extraordinary things became possible.